into the Friday 15 on this beautiful mid-December day. And for those of you watching on video, you can see we have a guest on that you may recognize from a few weeks ago. Hello, Eduardo from G Adventures.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Those of you that are listening and you're missing Eduardo's great background, it's a G Adventures background, and it's this really pretty purple door opening up to Machu Picchu. So may have to tune into YouTube for that. But Eduardo, we have lots of great questions for you today. Before we do, I just wanted to remind everybody, Host Week is coming up really soon. We have been going we've been spending a lot of time the last couple of weeks getting ready for Host Week. So we have over 30 host agency interviews for you. We have 6 consortia. We have everybody on board except Signature. There are 16 different edge spots that we're going to be providing to you. We have the 5 keynote speakers. So we hope that you can sign up. It's a free event, and you can go do that at hostagencyreviews.com/hostweek. So let's get into our questions. This is exciting. I was just telling Eduardo, he actually has a question that came in just for him today. So question 1 is from Anonymous. Eduardo, what do you see new travel agents doing that are successful booking G Adventures? It's difficult to make bookings when there are so many products and vendors. I find myself going in circles. Yeah, big challenge for new advisors. So you work with a lot of advisors. What are the new ones that are doing amazing things? What's their secret?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges that you have as a travel professional, and I've spent a little bit of time behind your desk. And, before I get too far into the answers, first, Stephanie, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy this format and this whole platform and everything you do personally. So thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And for those of you I haven't met before, this is the first time interacting. I was a travel agent for 6-7 years and came over to the supplier side for about the last 15 years. So I've got a little bit of insight into your side of the desk. And what I've always, amazed me, and what I've kind of, spoken to my colleagues about, is how much you guys need to know, and how much you need to learn about all the different products and services all over the world and all the different suppliers and vendors that you work with, and ensuring that you get the right experience for your particular customer, and knowing that you work with all types of customers, whether it be family trips or couples or honeymooners. All sorts of kinds of different experiences come through your door. And so, at G Adventures, we kind of acknowledge that as well. And we also don't want to be speaking to just one particular type of traveler. And so what we've done is we've created different travel styles and different service levels. So I think now we have 11 or 12 different travel styles and different collections that speak to the type of experience that you're going to have. So, for instance, we have an educational line with National Geographic journeys. That's always going to attract the educational traveler. We have 2 different lines of family experiences, one with National Geographic and one amongst G Adventures, at 2 different service levels, a standard and an upgraded service level. And what this allows you to do is kind of narrow yourself down into only a handful of experiences that might be right for your customer this time. So, once you get into G Adventures and you're kind of exploring that path because you've already understood that a small group experience could be for these customers, you're going to say to yourself, oh my gosh, they have 50 tours to Costa Rica. Well, and we do have 50 different, tour codes to Costa Rica, or 35 plus. What you're going to find is not every experience is going to be right for your traveler. So what we ask you to do is narrow it down and tell us a little bit about them. Are they the active traveler? Are they the family traveler? Are they the educational traveler? Maybe they're the wellness traveler and they'd like some yoga and spirituality on their Costa Rican adventure. They're still going to see all the main sites and attractions, but the activities and the people you're going to be traveling with are geared. We're trying to get like-minded folks that value the same sorts of activities, and yeah. So I think that when thinking about your customers, you really want to start asking them, well, what kind of people are they? And then,
Yeah.
that will kind of steer you, whether it be with G Adventures or any other supplier. Look to them and to see what they value, and who they are, and if this is the right experience for them. So within G Adventures, even though we're only 630 products, which sounds like
I
a lot.
mean, seriously.
It sounds like a lot, but for travel agents, you deal with thousands of products and services and cabin categories, and
It's true.
room categories, and all sorts of transfer companies, and private services. So this is 600 is nothing. It's easy for me to get my head around. I just have to deal with one collection, or one group. But even within G Adventures, we're trying to narrow you down to having a good selection for your customer, when they're ready to make a decision. Once they're in the small group tour space, we're going to help them
Yeah.
on the right experience.
Well, I think too. Oh, so I hear a couple things in here. One is that we both very much admire travel advisors for the amount of information they can hold in their brain and what they do. Because,
Unbelievable.
yeah, I think people come in oftentimes with a
Yeah.
very simplified version of what it is, but
Right.
skilled travel advisors are worth their weight in gold. So that's one thing I hear. The second is um, I I feel like, especially if you're using a small group tour where they're going to be with other people, and you want to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for that, because the other people attracted to it are, they're going to be spending a lot of time with them. But like qualifying those customers beforehand. And we have a sheet on HAR. Mary wrote up a great article about qualifying clients. And then we also have one on kind of the booking process. So I'm going to put those in the comments because those are helpful to read through. Because I think for new advisors, what gets confusing is how the flow works. So all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I didn't ask them this. Like, did they want transfers? Or I didn't ask them which room category they wanted. So then they have to go back. So you can make it a lot smoother process that way. Um, and then the third thing, I didn't hear you say this, but I think it's like you are such a wealth of information about your product, whoever the BDMs are,
Mhm.
making contact with those BDMs, attending those trainings for the suppliers that you think are going to be a good fit for your clients, and building a relationship and utilizing with the BDM is huge. And part of the secret on why travel advisors can know so many things is because they're really well connected to people that know the products even more intimately usually than they do.
Yeah, and they're constantly learning, right? I mean, the healthy agent is one that's always picking up something new.
Mhm. Or, as we said before we went live, always traveling.
That's right.
We were talking about like, yeah, we just get out of offices all the time. Everyone's been traveling this
Yeah,
year.
it's been a good year for our
Yeah.
own travel.
Yeah, everybody was, we didn't get to
Good
travel
great
for a little
offers
bit.
out there. I mean, I see cruises getting given away, and fam trips everywhere. So good stuff.
Yeah. Lots of great stuff. And then I know this, I know becoming a new travel advisor is really scary when you come. So I'm just going to also put in a few more resources for you, Anonymous. One is our other podcast, Travel Agent Chatter. It's long form and it talks to like successful advisors. And so I think that would be great for you just for inspiration to see, like to hear what successful travel advisors are doing. The other one is your elevator pitch. We have a blog on constructing an elevator pitch for yourself. And I think that's important to be able to succinctly tell your travelers or potential clients why they should book with you. And then last thing is charging fees, which you may or may or may not want to do in the beginning, but something to be aware of. So we'll put all those links in for you. And then our next question is from Anonymous. And this one is, does sales tax or any other tax affect service fees, consultation fees, etc.? Or will it just be taxed with your income tax? I'm not originally from the US and still learning when it comes to the tax system here. Aren't we all? Trust me. Especially when you start a business, it starts to get kind of hairy, and when you get employees. So, Eduardo, I know this isn't your forte, sales tax area. Do you have anything to say? Otherwise, I can take this one.
All I'll have to say there is that tours, specifically in our industry, are don't have the non-commissionable fees and the taxes that you'll see through other niches. So
Hmm.
on the sales side, the price you see is the price they pay. There's no anything added on there.
And that's
Every,
the price, like if it's $10,000 or $5,000,
right,
that's what they're getting commission on.
right.
Yep.
All any
Y-
taxes that we have to pay is baked in there.
Yeah. So the thing to note here for those of you that are newer is that in some areas, cruises are really the one where this happens. With cruises, they may have $1,000 cruise, but there's something called NCFs or non-commissionable fees, and I'm I don't think anyone except for the one person in the cruise line that does it knows what actually they are. But they're port fees and their taxes and different things. But the number will differ every time, and so when you do that, even if it's $1,000, you're not being paid that 16% commission on that number. It might be minus $200 or $300 or whatever it is. So that's something for new advisors to be aware of. And then with something like G Adventures, you are being paid on the full amount. All right. So a couple things on this. Sales tax. So one of the nice things about being a travel agent instead of a tour operator is because you're using other people's products. And like say when you book with G Adventures, you give them the credit card and they process everything. So they're taking care of the sales tax, all of that stuff. If you're booking a consultation fee or a service fee separately and actually processing that transaction yourself with a credit card processor, you may be responsible for sales tax or service fees. And anonymous, I don't know, since you're anonymous and I don't know where you're located, I can't tell you what your state's tax laws are, and it's actually very complicated. So what I would recommend for you is that you reach out to your local SBA or small business office, small business association office, and I'll put a link into where the SBA locations are. Or SCORE is another government entity that works with small businesses, and they should be familiar with these sales tax laws and be able to help you out. So we'll put something in for SCORE. I do know because I talked to ASTA. This question came up earlier this year too, which I'd never heard before. But ASTA, I reached out to them about it. And in South Dakota and New Mexico, they do have some tax information on gross receipts, which means like everything that comes into you. And I don't know of anyone that actually pays these though, that is even in South Dakota or New Mexico. And so, what ASTA told me is in theory, they should include TAs, but a member has never talked to them about them. So there must be some like non-intrusive workarounds, and your accountant or bookkeeper that's located in that state should be able to help you. So that was a lot of information. Hopefully it helps though. Next question from Alyssa B. So I'm already thinking about switching hosts for host agencies whose consortia is travel leaders, specifically for their partnership with ATTA, which is the Adventure Travel Trade Association, and the Adventure Specialist Program. Does G Adventures partner closely with travel leaders? Do they have high commission percentages for the travel leaders agencies? Eduardo, give
Great
us the
question.
secrets.
Great question. Absolutely. We get this question quite a lot. You'll see there's a lot of independent consultants out there that are looking to change organizations.
Mhm.
Fortunately, at G Adventures, we partner with every large consortium out there, and you'll enjoy high commissions across the board. And it won't affect your service, and it's easy for us to move you from one place to another.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I'm going to link to ATTA site because they are a great
Yeah.
place. If you're interested in adventure travel, they have lots of great experiential opportunities with their adventure travel world summit, things like that. But the other thing to mention with this, Alyssa, is their percentages. So Eduardo, correct me if I'm wrong here,
Mhm.
but so G Adventures and people that are preferred with travel leaders will work out their negotiations with travel leaders, and they'll come to some sort of a conclusion that, okay, these are the tiers of sales that your individual agencies need to make in order to be at 10%, 11%, 12%, et cetera. And it might be lower than what you would get if you were on your own and had no association with travel leaders, or it might be that you get like added values in there, lots of different things. So it's negotiated. On the host agency level is where you're actually going to get, if you're with, yeah, because you are with a host. It's at the host agency level that's actually going to determine what specific commission level you're at, not the travel leaders level. So I'm going to link to our article on travel agent commissions that kind of explains that a little bit more. But know that it could vary amongst travel leaders agencies, and the reason is because of their sales. So when you're
Yeah.
switching hosts, ask specifically if you sell a lot of G Adventures, ask specifically what their commission level is for G Adventures.
And also too, that's particularly true for the largest of suppliers. Now, for the most part, we're fortunate enough that we pay everybody the same across the board once they're within that consortium. We don't have the different levels
Oh, you
depending.
don't have the tiers.
No,
Okay.
we don't. And that's something that comes in kind of as you grow. You have to be a little bit larger for that to make sense. And you want to start inspiring some agencies over others. But the truth of the matter is this, most of our production is made by one travel agent at a time across the entire network, and that's regardless of what group we're looking at, whether it's travel savers or travel leaders or the next one. We see that it's very widespread out, and this is why it makes sense to pay everybody a great healthy commission. So you don't have to worry that your production might be lower because your host agency does less G Adventures. You're still going to get fantastic.
This is great. I learned something new today. Thanks
Yeah,
so much, Eduardo.
Yeah, you got it.
Cool. Okay, next question, and I might be pronouncing this wrong. EAU zone travel. So last week they had submitted this question from your stream a few weeks ago. So I looked at a few G Adventures tour, but have an issue with the single supplements cost. One person doesn't eat twice as much. They don't drink twice as much. Why do they have to pay twice as much? Will single supplements ever go away?
Yeah, it's a great question, and actually one that we get asked all the time. And actually at G Adventures, we're kind of a little bit different than most escorted tour companies. When you look at the conventional escorted tour company model, a single supplement is mandatory if somebody purchases the trip and isn't traveling with a companion.
Yep.
This is because that they're going to be putting them in their own hotel room. And that hotel room, the cost of that hotel room for the duration of the trip is divided amongst one person instead of two people. So this is where that additional cost comes in. Now, fortunately at G Adventures, we have, over 33 years of doing this, and kind of starting from our very adventurous days and, backpacker style of travel and when we initially started and where many people meet G Adventures, we get a lot of single travelers. Over 70% of people who travel with G Adventures book alone. Now I say they book alone, but I don't know that they're not traveling with somebody else on the tour. Maybe they have another friend in a separate booking number. It's a little bit harder for us to tell that. But I know from personal experience, having been on 20 or more of these trips, over half the group is there by themselves. And so what we do is we pair people together based on gender, and we go by age. We take over from the top of all the way down, and we pair people off, first by gender and then by age. And they are traveling with somebody else, so in the same room. So we'll pair them off together. Now, of course, we have those travelers who prefer to have their own room. It's perfectly understandable, and so we do have a my own room charge. In our case, in all cases, that extra my own room charge is going to be dependent on the destination. When you look to Alaska, where the accommodations tend to be extremely expensive, sometimes $400 or $500 a night, the single supplement, or what other companies would call a single supplement, we call my own room charge, is very high in Alaska. But when we look to more reasonable destinations, such as Costa Rica, our most popular tour, Costa Rica Quest, to have your own room is an additional $500 for 8 nights. I think that's $60 something per night. to have your own room for the duration of the trip, which I think most people would say is a reasonable upcharge to have that kind of a different accommodation.
Mhm. So I just went onto your site and there's a page on solo travel. Is this the one that I should link to? It says
Uh,
travel solo but never alone. They look like they're having a lot of fun. This group that's here.
that could be it. If you put in any tour code, actually, if you go over to if you put into the search bar, put in CRQ for Costa Rica Quest,
Uh-huh.
you can scroll about 2/3 of the way down, and just underneath the itinerary, and you're going to see available extras, and you're always going to see the
Ah.
cost of my own room. So,
Okay.
and we do have two or three of these built into every departure. So, well, it depends on the tour, but in most of our experiences, we have at least two, and we could have up to five or six, especially in places where the my own room charge is very reasonable, like
Mhm.
Morocco. In Morocco, we'll have five or six my own room chart available from the get-go when we block the rooms at the beginning of the year, or 2 years ahead of time, and we decide how many rooms we're going to block for that particular departure. We'll block more um, for those itineraries. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna link to I think the solo travel one will give people a taste of kind of just traveling alone, not necessarily the my own room, but,
Yep.
yeah, you guys can
It's a
check
much
that out.
nicer conversation, yeah, because nobody likes being told, like, they're gonna pay more for extra,
Mhm.
pay more because they're traveling alone, but they don't mind really when you tell them that you're gonna pay more to have your own, room.
Yep,
That kinda makes sense, right?
yep. Um, well, let's see. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Eduardo. Let's see if people obviously they can go to gadventures.com to learn more. If they have specific questions or are wondering how to connect up with their G Adventures BDM, what's the best way for them to do that? Go to their host or
Yeah, within your host network, you're going to have a partner directory there. That's You're going to find all the access to G Adventures, including registration for our agent portal. From there, we have dozens of training modules, and these training modules follow these travel styles. So you can follow your own learning path as to like what you're excited about. It's a great way to get in. Do come and see us at all the different events. We are very
they're fun to hang
eventful.
out with. I can guarantee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I've hung out with both Eduardo and Jeremy. Very fun.
we usually come in at a bronze sponsorship level, but then we stay all night at near the bar area, make sure everybody's having a good time. We kind of try and make compensate for it there. Yeah, so hopefully we'll cross paths with you. And I just want to say, happy holidays to all of you out there. It's been an amazing year after the a couple of years we had before. I hope you can all are all grateful. I'm super grateful. Thank you for all of your support. And just like to say that you really are making a difference. When you sell companies that do things responsibly and employ local people and create community and community tourism, you're having an impact in a lot of change. And so I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for joining us and being a part of that.
That's awesome. I'm also going to link to our episode from a few weeks ago where
Yeah,
we talked more about kind of the
we
social
did.
side of Eduardo, like G Adventures, if anyone's interested in that. So I'm with Eduardo. Happy holidays, everyone. We are off for the next 2 weeks. We're closing down the office here at Har to rest and be with family and friends. But we will be back January 5th. We have Scott with Rainbow Getaways who is going to be our co host on January 5th. And then Lindsay with Travel Leaders 365, who has been a past co host before, is going to be joining us January 12th. So if you have any specific questions for those host agencies, let me know. And both of them will be, let's see, they'll be involved with Host Week. So that's my reminder that again, sign up at hostagencyreviews.com/host week or look for the link in the show notes or comments. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Eduardo, so much for joining
Oh,
us.
thank you. Always nice speaking with you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Enjoy the holidays, everyone. And we'll see you in 20.